Good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are, welcome. If you're looking for Drive Clean with the League, you've come to the right place. This event will be a fast and fun look at how we're improving air quality and reducing carbon emissions by driving clean. The League of Women Voters of California and the League of Women Voters US have declared a climate emergency and are making climate action a priority. The most important step a typical California resident can take is to switch to an electric vehicle. I'm a proud League member, feeling even more pride as the League takes this leadership role in climate action. I'm also a proud member of the team at Drive Clean. You'll hear from Annika Osborne, one of the team members at Drive Clean, very shortly. But first, our agenda. The program will be an hour of juicy goodness. We'll open with Diz Swift, the co-chair of the U.S. Climate Interest Group for the League. Then we'll hear about the magic of driving electric. That means driving with zero pollution, lower cost, and endless possibilities. We'll get the skinny on current and coming EVs and hear from real drivers about their experiences. We'll go over charging at home and on the road, and end with Ask Us Anything, which is pretty much what it sounds like. Throughout this program, you can ask questions in chat. Just click chat in the bottom of the window and then type your question. We have experts monitoring chat who can answer in real time. If you'd like to turn on captioning, you just click live transcript in the bottom of the Zoom window. That will enable a live transcript in English. A reminder that this event is presented with the support of Electrify America. EA's goal is to promote greater EV adoption by offering an ultra-fast and convenient charging network. And finally, a couple of questions for you. I think that means, Annika, it's time to say hey.
So as a nonprofit, we have a few questions to ask before we get started. So I'm going to launch a quick survey. It's a Zoom poll.
Which means that it's time to introduce Diz Swift. Diz is the co-chair of the U.S. Climate Interest Group for the League of Women Voters. Diz.
Okay, thank you so much, Kevin. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a real pleasure to be partnering with Drive Clean in getting more people into electric vehicles. Can we have the first slide, please? You probably know the League because we do voting rights and elections, and that is absolutely our core. We are also, though, now moving into climate change because it is, as they say, an existential, meaning it is affecting everything, including democracy. And so we need to be active in working to fight climate change. This from our website, as citizens of the world, we must protect our planet from the physical, economic, and public health effects of climate change while also providing pathways to economic prosperity. Next, please. We formed the Climate Interest Group, relatively new, but we're growing very fast. It was 1,300 a couple months ago. Now we're almost 1,500 League members working across the entire United States at all sorts of levels: local, regional, state, interstate, and national, to advocate, educate, and lobby on climate change. So the Climate Interest Group is open to all League members, and we would love to have your participation. We are providing information that you can use to lobby your congresspeople and sanctioned by the National League. We will send an invitation to League members to join the interest group after this event. So please join Climate Interest Group. But meanwhile, let's learn about EVs.
So my name is Annika Osborne, and I'm with Drive Clean, an environmental nonprofit with a mission to reduce carbon emissions and air pollution. I want to thank Electrify America for funding this event and the League for partnering with Drive Clean for this series of events. We have in attendance tonight League members from 14 states, which is very exciting. So there are many benefits to driving electric. From an environmental perspective, with an EV, we can reduce our impact on the earth by decreasing carbon emissions and air pollution. Our passenger vehicles are the single largest source of emissions, representing up to 50% of our individual carbon footprint. When you switch from a gas car to an EV and plug into clean energy, you can cut your carbon footprint significantly. It's an impactful action and we want everyone in. So from a personal perspective, when you make the switch, you can save time, money, and improve your driving experience with an EV. And you'll be part of the electrification movement, which is really taking off now. The climate crisis and poor air quality are affecting everyone, but not equally. Due to systemic inequities, communities of concern are disproportionately impacted and experience the effects of climate change first and worst. And air pollution greatly impacts these communities, which are often located near freeways, major roads, and oil refineries. The good news is that people are starting to notice, speak out, and take action. And we need to continue to get the word out about working for environmental justice through climate solutions. When we reduce emissions, it helps everyone on this earth. So for many people, deciding which car to buy comes down to finances. I know it always does for me. Many EVs have a lower total cost of ownership compared to gas cars. So some reasons for the low cost of driving electric are that during the past 5 to 10 years, EV battery prices have dropped dramatically. Government incentives are available for up to $11,000 for most vehicles, depending on your local and state incentives. Gas can be 2 to 5 times more expensive than electricity, depending on where you live. I was just out of the state recently, and I noticed that gas prices were a lot cheaper than where I'm living here in Northern California. There's no scheduled maintenance for EVs. So I just read a government study confirming that the cost of maintenance on battery electric vehicles is 40% less than for gas, hybrid, and plug-in hybrid vehicles. And then for California residents, as I was looking at the registration, about half of the attendees here are from California. So I'll just make a few comments related to California because that's what I know mostly about. But for California residents, Drive Clean Bay Area, we partner with a car concierge service twice a year for an EV discount campaign. So we're hoping to launch one in November. And if you are from California and you're in attendance tonight, we'll send you an email all about it. So there are lots of incentives available when you switch to driving electric. Every state is a little different. And in California, you can save up to $11,000 with rebates and tax credits for a fully electric car, about half of that amount for a plug-in hybrid. And if your income qualifies, you can get up to $19,000. So the federal tax credit we'll focus on that one since that applies to everybody on this call, but the federal tax credit is claimed on tax liability when you file your taxes and does not take the form of an upfront rebate. This vehicle tax credit is currently not available for Teslas or Chevy Bolts, and the credit is for purchase only, but some dealers will take it off the lease price as well. The home charging rebate is available for up to $1,000. The credit is for 30% of the cost of the charging station or outlets, and as well as the install. I just got that tax credit this last year. I think it cost us about $800 to put in a couple of outlets, and I think our tax credit was $220. So where you live, there may be state, county, and utility rebates. I don't know if we have anybody on this call from New Jersey, but I remember reading a few months ago, New Jersey has really great state rebates. So every state is a little bit different. I don't know so much about all of the different states, but there's a great website, an app called Plugstar that has this wonderful nationwide savings calculator so that you can calculate exactly which incentives you qualify for wherever you live. Kevin, can you maybe put that in the chat? That would be awesome. Or if somebody could put that in the chat, that would be great. This way you can calculate exactly what you qualify for. Okay. So EVs offer a great driving experience. What I really like is the extra torque or power that you get when you drive an EV. So I can quickly accelerate when I'm getting on the freeway, and then I can just easily maneuver between lanes. There's that spot you want to go into, and it's hard because there's somebody behind you there, but you can just use that power and glide right into the place where you want to be. I enjoy the quiet, smooth drive, which makes for stress-free conversations while on a road trip. And for me, the high safety ratings were a really big factor, especially with teenagers at home starting to drive. So yeah, it's really fun to drive electric. And for most people who have tried driving electric, it's really hard to go back, even if I have to borrow somebody's car sometime. Okay, so the next part of the show, we're going to talk a little bit about current and coming vehicles. And before I get started on that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the carbon footprint of manufacturing electric vehicles, as well as the battery. So for everyone in the country, charging the average new EV produces far fewer global warming pollutants than driving the average new gasoline car. So yes, it currently does take a little more carbon to produce an EV because of the battery, but even that is reducing as manufacturers are streamlining their manufacturing processes. And a lot of these manufacturers are hyper aware that people are interested in electric vehicles for reduced carbon emissions. So they're doing a really great job of making sure that they use clean electricity when they're building these batteries. So the orange part of this chart represents the cradle to grave emissions, carbon emissions for vehicle components, while the blue represents carbon emissions from combusting gasoline. So you can see that, they say that after about 12,000 miles, driving 12,000 miles or so, you kind of break even the manufacturing. And then when you drive electric and you can plug into clean electricity, you're basically using very, very little carbon emissions at that point, or emitting a lot of carbon, very little carbon at that point. And batteries. So since the Industrial Revolution, humans have had a significant impact on the environment. There's a huge environmental impact from extraction and transportation of fossil fuels and driving gas cars. There are issues with EVs, mainly the batteries in terms of extracting rare minerals and the energy required to produce those batteries, which we know is getting cleaner and cleaner. There is so much research being done around batteries right now, and it's changing. The battery conversation is changing really quickly. Some battery manufacturers are no longer using some of these rare minerals like cobalt. And I know GM is planning to use domestic lithium from the Salton Sea, and they're naming this region Lithium Valley. The good news about EV batteries is that besides those early Nissan Leafs, there's very little battery degradation. So the batteries will last for many, many miles. Some are predicting between, around 300,000 miles or so, or more even. And then there's the second life of the battery. So for cars, when the battery goes below, say, 80% of its capacity, the range is reduced, but that's not a constraint for stationary storage, which is something that our utilities are very interested in. We produce a lot of solar energy in the US, but the problem is that if we don't use it or store it when it's being generated, when the sun goes down, it's gone. After being used to store energy, 95% of the materials in EV batteries can be recycled, even those rare minerals like cobalt. So with over 50 plug-in electric vehicles available, there's an EV or e-bike for every lifestyle and budget. And that's a really great thing because we need everyone on board cutting their individual carbon footprint in half in order to have a collective impact. So most fully electric EVs offer 200 to 300 miles of range, and some go even farther on one charge. So this means, I know this is a very local comparison here or statement, that you can go from San Francisco to Lake Tahoe, which is typically a 4-hour drive, with just a 15-minute charging break, or from San Francisco to Sacramento and back without having to stop to charge. That's a good, close to 200 miles right there. So this was not the case 5 years ago, so things are getting a lot easier. All right. Now for the fun part, the cars. So I'll be presenting some slides of the most popular EVs that are currently available and some that are coming in the next year or so. So the prices that you see on the slides are the base MSRP, and there are many public incentives from manufacturers and other incentives as well. So the actual cost can be much lower than these prices. So here are a couple of lower range EVs available for just around $30,000. Not everyone needs a high range EV. These work out great for commuting and for running errands around town. Here are a few of the most popular models that you've most likely seen around, all available for less than $40,000 before incentives. The Tesla Model 3, the Chevy Bolt, and the Nissan Leaf. In 2021, the average price of a new gas car in the United States is $40,000, incidentally. I'm just going to give my personal example. I had a Subaru Outback before getting a Tesla Model 3. My Tesla Model 3 cost $37,000. I have like the lower range one. It doesn't have autopilot, but $37,000. And with all of the incentives that I got, that brought the price down to $30,000, which was the same price as a Subaru Outback. So for me, it didn't really make a difference. And I'm saving a lot of money charging with electricity. The Chevy Bolt, the Nissan Leaf are very popular cars. And I'm going to be introducing a couple of people throughout this presentation to do an EV owner spotlight. The first one is Dory Larson. Dory is a league member on the other side of the country in Florida. So Dory, please tell us why you switched to driving electric and how you use your EVs and what your experience has been like.
Well, thank you, Annika, for allowing me to share my story, and good evening, everyone. So I am the Electric Transportation Program Manager with the Southern Alliance for Clean Energy, and I've been driving electric since 2017. I learned about tonight's presentation from the amazing league members that I work with in Florida. I can't say enough about what a fantastic organization you all are. And I figured that if I was going to be advocating for electric transportation, I better like walk the walk and drive the drive. So, I got the Nissan Leaf. I paid $8,400 for it. The money that we already paid for our previous car was written back as in a check because the cost of the Leaf was so much lower. So then we put the solar panels up on the roof to make sure that we were pretty close to zero emission driving. And then right before we went into lockdown for COVID, my husband leased a Chevy Bolt. So we are now a 2-car family, all electric family. And we pay under $300 a month for that lease, which we love, love, love. So, I mean, I love the cost savings and the ability to do other things with our money that it affords our family. And I also, Annika, I share your teens in the house becoming drivers and like that anxiety of driving the car. So it's nice to know that they do have that acceleration to be able to get out of harm's way. It's just cool to think that my kids will probably never drive an internal combustion engine. So I absolutely love it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Dory. On with the cars. So the Hyundai Kona and the Kia Niro are great crossovers. You've probably seen the all-wheel drive Tesla Model Y around. It was released last year. All of these crossovers offer really fast charging, which is great when you're on the road. And the Model Y has an optional third row of seats, can actually fit 7 passengers, I think 2 very small passengers in the back. Yes. And in the luxury segment of the market, there's the Audi e-tron, the Jaguar I-Pace, and the Polestar 2, which is a relative of Volvo. These are beautiful, safe cars. I've seen a lot of really great deals on these higher end cars. I've test driven a couple of them, and they're very nice cars. The next few slides I'm very excited to present because these next 3 slides are brand new cars that have just come out. In the last couple of months. They used to be in my coming soon part of the deck, but here they are. So the Volkswagen ID4, they was just started delivering their EVs this last month, I guess in May actually. So you'll be seeing these spacious cars on the road. This is the first from the ID brand, and there will be more coming. I think they've promised like 1 every year for the next 8 or 10 years. And we know that very iconic Volkswagen bus, it's actually called the ID Buzz, is going to be coming out in 2023. So keep your eyes and ears open for that one. The Ford Mach-E, another iconic car. Unfortunately, right now, there are more people who want this car than there are cars available. So there's a wait list, but production is ramping up. We're hoping that there are more of these cars available in the fall. People say the Mustang Mach-E is a lot like the Tesla Model Y, but still with the federal tax credit. And the Volvo XC40 Recharge is also a great SUV. You sit up really nice and high, and it has a beautiful interior, very comfortable car. If you're a Volvo person, you know, this is a lovely, great car. Definitely a car I would take to the snow, to the mountains. And if you absolutely cannot find an all-electric car that works for you, there are many plug-in hybrids available. If you plug in your PHEV, as we call them, every night, you may be able to cover your commute driving all electric, and you can save the gas tank for road trips. The Honda Clarity, the Toyota Prius Prime, and Kia Niro plug-in hybrid are really great choices for commuting because they offer a good amount of electric range. I have a couple of friends who love their Honda Clarity. One in particular who's never taken it to the gas station. She's been able to drive on like 100% electricity. So that's pretty exciting. If you require a larger plug-in hybrid, there's the Chrysler Pacifica minivan, the Toyota RAV4 Prime. It's really hard to get your hands on that one right now, but hopefully production will be ramping up soon, and the Jeep Wrangler. So EVs have been around for just about 10 years because, sorry, next slide. Because EV technology is so new, many people lease their EVs. So now there are many available on the market at good prices. So here are just a few of the many affordable used EVs available. Higher range EVs like Chevy Bolts and Teslas are also available on the used market. So I'm actually going to take a moment to talk about my own situation. Last year, my family went all electric. We have a Tesla Model 3 that we use for road trips, mostly volleyball tournaments. And we picked up a used and very peppy Volkswagen e-Golf with a range of only 80 miles as our second car. My teenagers use this one to get to school and to practices. And while an 80-mile range is not optimal for everyone, for many people, it's enough for a second car. And with a range of 80 miles, it keeps my kids close to home. We live just 30 minutes north of San Francisco, and my kids can take this car to the city and back. They can take it to Stinson Beach and back with plenty of range left when we get home. What else can you desire as a teenager? On the right there, charging at home, you know, is very easy. We installed a 120 and a 240 volt outlet in our driveway for easy access to charging. That's all we had to do, and it works out great. Okay, so we'll talk about some of the cars that are coming soon. Some of these are already available for pre-orders. Some of them are already at the dealerships. I know this Chevy Bolt EUV is out there. It's very much like the first Chevy Bolt, but it's more wagon-like. It has more storage space. The Nissan Ariya should be coming out next year. I'm just going to kind of fly through these. The Hyundai Ioniq 5 is pretty exciting. It is the first Hyundai built exclusively on an EV platform, and it can charge 60 miles in 5 minutes and go from a 10% to 80% of a charge on a fast charger in just 18 minutes. It also has bidirectional charging, which may add some resiliency during a power shutdown. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. So as you can see, like charging is getting really fast. We're not quite at the gas station model yet, but we're getting there soon. So it's not just about how much range your EV has, but it's also about how quickly you can charge it. Yeah, so these are some other great new cars coming, the Kia and the Audi. If you're a BMW fan, here are 2 cars coming out right now. They just ended production on the BMW i3, which came out in 2014. It was a hugely popular car. And yeah, again, you can make pre-reservations on all these cars. I will stop and talk a little bit about this next manufacturer, Rivian, because it's a new all-electric EV manufacturer. The Rivian SUV and truck offer excellent utility with a high range. And what I like as an environmentalist is that Rivian answers the high consumer demand for both SUVs and trucks. I have to share this slide just because this picture is something I grabbed off of the Rivian slideshow or website. I'm a big fan of camping, and I saw this picture and I just thought, wow, this is the future of camping. So yes, while the tent, setup is pretty cool there, you can see this black thing coming out behind the cab. That is actually an electric cooktop. So no more schlepping your Coleman cooking stoves and propane gas tanks on with you to your camping trips. You can just cook right off of the EV's battery. That's pretty cool. And just to note, it takes very little electricity to cook a meal off of your EV battery. Driving is very energy intensive. Cooking a meal takes very little. I'm a little bit of a dreamer, so I look at that cooler over there and I imagine that's an all electric cooler, which I have seen at the store recently. So I imagine that, you know, instead of having to go to the store and get a bunch of ice, you just plug in that cooler. So we're not quite here yet. Pretty soon we'll be camping like this, and it's an exciting time. Just want to also let you know there are some trucks coming out. You know, I really want to point out this very exciting electric Ford F-150 Lightning, which should be coming out, some say even at the end of this year, a couple of models, maybe a couple of cars, and then, you know, next year as well. This car offers bidirectional charging, and the Ford F-150 regular gas car is the most popular car in the United States. So this is going to be really revolutionizing electric vehicle adoption. It's very exciting. So I'll just go back to that. As you can see, this was just a small sampling of EVs that are out there. There are all sorts of cars out there. There are hatchbacks and trucks and SUVs and wagons. There's something really for every budget and every lifestyle. All right, we've come to the next part of this program, which is how to EV. So we're going to talk here a little bit about, you know, charging and a couple of other things. So we'll start by talking about charging at home and on the road. So people do get worried about charging, but for many people, 90% of charging is done at home or at work. So I'll talk a little bit about charging at home at first. So there are two options for charging at home. The first is an easy, no-cost solution and is ample for most people. You just plug in the charger that comes with your vehicle into a standard 120-volt outlet. It gives you 40 miles of charge in 8 hours, which is usually done overnight, just enough to replenish your battery. So just to give a little point here that for, you know, when we charge our batteries, we're typically not going from like 0 to 100. We're just basically topping off the amount, you know, the miles that we drove that day. So this easy solution called level 1 charging works out great for most people. If you drive more than 50 miles a day, a good option is to see if you can charge at work. And if not, you may want to purchase a home charging station for level 2 charging. With level 2, you'll get about 25 miles in an hour, so you can easily get a full charge overnight. The first step is to consult with an electrician. We have some online resources in our buying and driving guide that will help you determine the right charging station. So charging away from home, there are also many level 2 public chargers available. So you can charge when you're around town, running errands. For example, when I go to my local farmer's market, I usually charge my car for 45 minutes and pick up about 20 miles of range for 50 cents or something. So it's very convenient. Every mall near where I live has these EV charging stations, and, you know, they're popping up all over the place. When you're on a road trip, you'll want a fast charge with the level 3 charger, which is the fastest charging available. With level 3, you can charge, I'm going to say this last weekend, I clocked 820 miles an hour. That's how fast I was charging. So that's pretty exciting. So these times are getting faster and faster. On the road charging is really often 20 to 30 minute stop. And I just want to show you there are 3 different standards for charging, as you see on this image. The one in the center is the most important one. This is the one that works for most cars. It's called the CCS standard. The one on the left is called CHAdeMO. It's just for the Nissan Leaf. And the one on the right is just for Tesla. So in terms of charging level 2 at home, a smart splitter can be useful for some people. Smart splitters are 240-volt safety devices that can be used for your home EV charging and appliance setup. The 2 primary uses for smart splitters are to share a circuit with an appliance like your clothes dryer, or to share between 2 EVs, so that you're not going to burn out your circuit, you know, so that you're only using one at a time. So these are safety devices that can be handy for some people. So once you start driving electric, it's ideal to charge your EV with rooftop solar like Dory does. There's a federal tax credit available this year for 26% of the install cost of solar. It's a great feeling to charge your car from the electricity that you generate from your own solar panels. And for more resilience, you may want to consider a battery for storage. If you're not ready for solar, you can choose a clean energy plan from your utility so that you're charging your EV with clean energy from the sun and the wind. In addition, your utility may offer a special reduced EV or time of use rate so that you pay less for electricity during certain times of the day. So for me, that is between midnight and 3 p.m. It's very inexpensive to charge my car during that time. That also means that I have to do my laundry during that time, run my dishwasher, and use all of my electricity during that time. So many of you may live in a multi-unit building, and there are several EV charging solutions for people who live in multi-unit buildings, and more solutions are on the way. So if a charging station is not available at your multi-unit building, people typically charge by plugging into a standard 120 volt outlet if that's available in a carport or in a parking space. People charge at work, or they charge at public fast charging stations. On average, fast charging will get you about 70% battery charge in 30 minutes. Approximately 90% of Californians now live within 15 miles of an Electrify American ultra-fast charger. And Biden's infrastructure plan includes 500,000 new fast charging stations in the US. So if there's not one near you now, one is on its way. EV Match provides charging access with a peer-to-peer network for charging. You can download the free app to share your charger, or you can find and reserve charging. You can also lobby your property owner to install standard 120 volt outlets in the parking spaces and agree to a flat monthly rate like $10 or $20, depending upon how much you charge. And there are more advancements coming, like these new smart outlets that are coming. Smart outlets offer an affordable way for EV owners to charge their vehicles in a shared space. These smart outlets monitor the electricity that you use to charge your EV so that you can reimburse the owner of that, for the power that you use. Okay, so now we'll talk a little bit about charging on the road. So taking a road trip is getting simpler all the time. Thousands of public charging sites provide fast charging. And using apps like PlugShare, it's easy to plan a trip and find chargers along the way. Electrify America, EVgo, ChargePoint all offer app or card-based stations, making it very easy to just tap, charge, and go. With public charging, we recommend that you practice a few times locally and then take your first trip. You want to make sure you're all signed up for these charging apps, for the charging networks, have your credit card in there so that you don't have to be dealing with that when you're on a road trip. So when I take road trips, I've noticed that many hotels offer free level 2 destination charging so that you can charge while you're there. Sometimes I'll arrive at a hotel and just see the charging is available. But lately I've been doing, when I'm looking for a hotel or a motel in Expedia, I'll just search for hotels or motels that have EV charging available. So it will only list those particular hotels, which is really easy. Sometimes I stay in Airbnbs or VRBOs, and I ask the property manager if I can charge when I'm staying. So far, I think I've stayed in 3 Airbnbs. I just bring my charging cable with me and just plug in when I'm there. The people who own the houses where I've stayed are super nice. They're like, sure, we'll hook up an extension cord for you and you can just charge while you're here. Always a nice thing, nice courtesy to ask beforehand though. And next up, I'd like to introduce League members Nancy and Bruce Bell, who happily drive their Chevy Bolt, not just around town, but around the country. Bruce and Nancy, please tell us a little bit about why you drive electric and a bit about your experience.
Hi, I'm Nancy Bell, and I am co-chair of the Climate Change Committee for the Marin League of Women Voters and the proud owner of a Chevy Bolt, which we absolutely love. Back in 2016, we kind of pledged that our next car would be electric, and we thought that was in the distant future. However, our Lexus had some major problems on maintenance and things breaking down. And it just got to the point where it didn't make sense to put more money into it. Luckily, at the same time, the Chevy Bolt was just coming out on the market. And Bruce did a lot of research, and we found that this was the car that we wanted to get and have not looked back. We will never buy a gas car again, I can assure you of that. And actually, Bruce can give you some more details on the experiences, but I just have to say, for me, who am not into mechanics, it's so much fun to drive. So Bruce.
Show a picture and see if I'm in this
I
screen.
can't.
Yes, so we bought this Chevy Bolt. Boy, it was the newest thing on the road in 2017, but now it seems old compared to Annika's car, which can charge so much faster. So we have over 50,000 miles on our Chevy Bolt. So far, let's see, well, we've replaced tires, and then, oh yeah, we had to refill the windshield wiper fluid. The first actual maintenance recommended by Chevy is at 150,000 miles, and that is to replace the liquid coolant for the battery, to keep the battery at a happy temperature. I've seen some questions in the chat. We have driven our car. We drove from San Francisco up to Whidbey Island. So, you know, crossing several states. And as Annika talked about, we used the phone applications to keep track of chargers as we went along, through rain and snow, I might add. And again, charged up at our host house when we arrived after a couple of days. Just, it's such a pleasant experience driving electric. It's quiet, smooth, responsive, and it's just so much more fun. We'll never buy another gas car. I'm wondering if 10 years from now, anybody will buy a used gas car anymore, whether they're just going to all be taken to the recycle.
Right. Thank you, Nancy and Bruce. So climate change is happening, and power shutdowns, unfortunately, are happening. But the good news is that EVs can actually help during a power shutdown. There are these inexpensive 300-watt inverters, this red box here to the right, that you can buy. Bought one for less than $30 on Amazon, and you plug them into your accessory port, and they can power up small appliances like cell phones, laptops, LED lights. This picture is a little strange. I don't typically have a lamp in my car, but this was just to demonstrate that I can actually power up my lamp from my EV battery. But about 2 years ago, we lost our power here in Northern California for 5 days. And while, you know, I mentioned I'm a fan of camping, so camping in our house was fun for about 2 days, and candles were great, but after that it got a little old. So I plugged in my inverter and plugged in an extension cord, and then I plugged in a bunch of, like string lights so that I could bring a little bit of light into my living room and we could live a little bit of a normal life. So this is just one example. I've mentioned there's a lot of research happening with batteries. There's a lot of research going on now in terms of inverters and being able to use the electricity that's stored in your EV battery to power up your home. There's a Canadian company called Osiago with a product called Decibel that will be coming out later this year. It's a very powerful inverter, and it will actually manage the way we use electricity. I mean, it's very exciting. But if you think about it, in the evenings when you come home from, your day of whatever you're doing, that's when we tend to have power shutdowns. But if you come home and your EV has like 100 or 150 miles left in it, that's a lot of power. If we can just bring that power into our homes, that really takes a lot of burden off of the grid. And it, is less expensive for us, because that's the time when electricity is very, very expensive and not as clean because so many people are using it. So it's a great idea. Like this is happening. It's going to be happening soon. Lots of research. We'll keep you all updated on this as we'll send out like monthly newsletters and such. I just want to talk a little bit about Drive Clean and what we do besides these presentations. So we do offer, this kind of EV 101 presentation similar to this one for the general public as well. We also do EV 102s. That's for people who have recently bought an EV in hopes to make your transition to driving electric a little bit easier. We have a lot of website resources. If you go to our website, and I'll send you a follow-up email with the website with this slideshow presentation as well. But our website has a lot of great tools like a buying and driving guide, a checklist for buying electric, lots of great stuff. And also for those of you who live in California, I'll just mention this, twice a year, we offer a preferred pricing campaign with our partner Cartelligent to give consumers great pricing on EVs. We are able to get people usually somewhere between $750 and $2,500 off of EVs in addition to all of the other incentives. We're hoping to run the next one in November. And again, we will reach out to all of you who live in California when that does happen. One more slide, and then we will get to Q&A. So you came here today to learn about how to switch to an electric vehicle so that you can do your part to reduce carbon emissions. It's great that you took the time to learn about how to switch to driving electric. Thank you for coming. And can we ask for your help? We can remember all our blue skies and clean air last April and May when many people stopped driving. If you can make the switch to driving electric now, we are here to help, and the sooner the better. If you're not ready now, can we have your support by pledging to make your next car electric? If getting an EV now is not feasible, we recommend holding on to your current car as solutions are on their way. If you need a different car now, we recommend buying a used gas car or plug-in hybrid, since a newly purchased or leased car will be on the road for over 12 years, emitting carbon and air pollution. I have one final short Zoom survey, and you'll be able to pledge to make your next car electric and let us know how impactful our program was today. And now we're moving to the portion of our presentation where you can ask any questions about EVs. Again, I'd just like to thank the League of Women Voters for bringing this event to their member groups and for partnering with us on this event. And a thank you to Electrify America for sponsoring this event.
I do want to make sure that you answer Maxine Connor about how we can bring these tools and these. Well, wait, Maxine, are you asking how can we come to Florida to maybe hang out and talk about this?
I'm not sure how it would be done, so that's kind of what I'm asking. Would it be something that you do, or is that some program that we can institute here in Florida? This educational aspect, I think.
Yeah, so there may be, we're happy to share these slides with you. And if you reach out to me after I send the follow-up email, we're happy to share the slides. You can make a copy of them and use what you like and customize them to your local region. Cargo space comparisons. So curious about mounting racks for kayaks, bikes, cargo boxes. Yes. Well, you saw the picture on Nancy and Bruce's car. They have a bike rack. I have friends who have a kayak racks and a bike rack. Maybe that's you too, Nancy and Bruce, on their Chevy Bolts. We put racks on our Tesla as well. We have a bike rack on our, all of these cars can take bike racks.
Yeah, we also have a tow bar on our Chevy Bolt, and I believe Mary carries a canoe around on top of hers all the time. These electric cars have a great deal of torque, and they move right along, no problem.
So it's worth saying that anybody who doesn't get a specific question answered here today, give us a shout at info@drivecleanbayarea.org. Annika is looking at that all the time, as am I, and mostly Annika can give you the definitive answers, but I will chime in with the semi-definitive answers.
And that's something to mention, with the Volkswagen ID4, they give you 3 years of free charging when you're at the fast charging station. So 0 cost. If there's a charging station decently close to where you are, you could really save on fueling up that car.
Well, it's only the EA charging stations though,
Only
right?
the EA charging stations. But you know what? What I recommend that you do is go to PlugShare, the PlugShare website, and you can locate, you can filter out for EA and locate the charging stations near you.